Hello, everybody, and happy Friday. Kelly Walters here, and welcome to the Heat Press for Profit podcast. We are broadcasting live on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and if you're watching us live, make sure you shout out who you are, what your business is, and where you are watching from. Now, this podcast is designed to have conversations with apparel decorators just like you and industry experts that have an impact on your business. I am very excited to say that for the first time, we have Andy Rogers and Molly Harmon from Target Transfers on our podcast. Now, they have done an awesome job at having Stahls on their podcast, but this is the first time that they get to tune in with us. So Andy Rogers is the marketing manager with Target Transfer, and Molly Harmon is a senior marketing executive, and they do the content, the education, the marketing, everything behind the scenes. If you are seeing their information, then it's coming from these guys. So you guys, thank you so much for joining me today when it is 5:00 where you are.
My pleasure. It's great to be on here.
So thank you so much for having us, Kelly.
I'm really excited about this one because we are talking about an event that you guys just had. It was the first time you had done this event. And we're also talking about trends that you guys are seeing over there in the United Kingdom. And I think it's always important to kind of compare and contrast what we see in different places. Even if it never reaches the States, I feel like it's always an opportunity for somebody here to kind of grab a hold of a trend that could potentially blow up for them and really change, their path of their business. But first, let's talk about the Headwear live event. Just briefly tell us about that.
Do you want to start?
Yeah, why not? So Headwear Live is the first ever headwear event we've done in the UK, and it's the only headwear event anywhere in the UK for garment decorators. So we're very conscious that a lot of people are a little bit tentative about decorating hats still, even with this wonderful 360 IQ hat press from Hottronics, which basically makes everything really easy for you. But we really wanted, for our industry where everything is hands-on, you want to touch stuff, you want to look at it and try and pick at it and see what's wrong with it. So okay, let's just have a big headwear event in the UK. So we have this wonderful innovation center, which we're coming live to you from today. We just wanted to invite all of our customers, anyone in the UK that's interested in decorating hats or bags or just bringing extra revenue into their business, just be like, look, it's really easy. This hat costs £2. This vinyl on it costs 10p or 10 cents. Put them together and you've got a £20, $20 hat. It's really, really that simple. So we just wanted to get everyone in, dispel any myths about hat decorating and bag decorating, and just kind of give everyone the tools to go away and make more profit for their business.
Now, was this a hands-on event for those that attended?
Yes. So we had like a talk section. So we did about 45 minutes to an hour, and we kind of broke down everything everyone needs to know. What's the UK market like? How's it growing? What are common hat types? What to look for hat types in terms of like profiles and stitching, all that kind of really nerdy stuff. I really wanted to make sure everyone was kind of like a bit of a geek about hats by the end of it. Then I did a bit of decorating, and then afterwards we had like an hour and a half probably of networking where it's just like, do you want to come decorate a hat? Give everyone a hat and just come and find me, and we'll put one on for you so you can try it for yourself that way.
Yeah, I think so many of the hats that we had on display disappeared at the event. We just had them all out, and people were just like, can I take this? And we were like, please take all of them. They're all for you. And I think probably 50, 60 hats just disappeared out the door with our guests.
That's good when you welcome that. It's not one of those things where it's like, no, please don't take those, and it has to go to the next place or the next event. That they can actually take something that inspires them or that they're attracted to, and then take that home, and hopefully that boosts them forward. Did a lot of people that attended already have a 360, or is it something that they were really considering about incorporating into their business?
I would say probably maybe like 10% of the people that turned up already had the 360, but hardly any of them were leveraging it correctly. A few people said that they had it but not really used it.
Some people said that they hadn't even got it out the box. There were like two people that have got one, and it was still sat in the cardboard box it came in, and we were like, oh no.
And a few people that we like sort of proactively invited were using it, but not using it correctly. They weren't kind of applying the right principles to it. So some very weird techniques that they were using and are saying, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And you're like, that's kind of the complete opposite of what I told you to do. So come along to the event and I'll show you how to do it properly. And then everyone else was like, oh, okay, I need this machine now.
That's so funny to hear that they were, incorrectly using it or not using it to their advantage, because I look at the 360 and I'm like, hey, if I can put whatever on that, it's going to go under that. It's going to go under that heating element.
Yeah.
Just because there's so much opportunity. Now, do you guys plan on doing another one, or how do you look that Headwear Live is really going to, kind of progress forward in the next year or so?
It's definitely going to be at least an annual event, if not biannual, because it was very well attended, very popular. But we also did lots of content around the event as well. So we did a podcast with Beachfield Brands in UK and Europe is the biggest provider of hats and bags. So we got them and we did a podcast. We did loads of other video bits and pieces with them. So they're going to go onto our YouTube channel over the next month or so. So any little kind of 3 or 4 minute videos. I think the talk from is already up there as well.
Yeah, I was just going to say it's worth for anybody listening that wants a bit of an insight into the event. I did actually record the full 45-minute talk that Andy and Ashford from Beachfield did. And that is on our YouTube channel now. So you can sort of have almost like you were there at the event for the talking segment.
That's awesome. Get that education out there for them and let other people grab a hold onto it. Well, I cannot wait to see what you guys do next, whether it is, bringing in other accessories or more apparel, or even just running forward with headwear. So are you noticing that there is a massive to really decorate more and more headwear in the UK?
It's funny, really, isn't it? From what you said at the beginning of the podcast, when you said about trends over here might not necessarily reach the US, I think that works in reverse as well. Like there are some things that you guys do over in America that our customers either don't do or haven't quite got the hang of yet. And I know that caps and headwear is a massive part of that. And it's something I want to touch on later on in the podcast as well. But it's something that we've definitely seen a lot of growth in this market for. I mean, you've got, I think, some more specific numbers around sort of how much it's growing this side. But yeah, definitely something that we're expecting to see more of. And with all the 360s we've sold, there's bound to be more decorated hats out there. So
hopefully, right? They'll get it out of the box. That's
the idea.
Out of the box.
I think when we
sorry, Andy, go ahead.
The UK in Europe is expected to grow about almost 20% year on year for the next sort of 6-7 years. So there's a big potential for hat decorating, just in kind of like the general wear of hats. Like I would say historically, everyone in the UK has kind of been a hat owner rather than hats necessarily. So now it's like, okay, you might find 3, 4, or 5 in someone's wardrobe rather than just like one for winter, one for summer.
I'm guilty of that until this year.
And I think as we kind of explain to people how to make profit from hats, I mean, if anyone that's listening is not a part of the Heat Press for Profit group, then you could go in there and you just see how many people are just like, I've got 3 machines and that's all I do now. And it's just hat after hat after hat, because it's something you can offer to every single business that you're already doing work for. So like if you do the jackets, the t-shirts, the trousers, the bags, like throw a hat in there and your average order value per person just goes up quite considerably, because I don't know what the profit margins are like in the US for hats, but a nice hat is like £2 or $2, which is nothing compared to what the perceived value of it is.
Yeah, our headwear definitely runs from the low end of $3-4 to, a $20 blank headwear. And it really just depends on the brand, right? Because if there's a name associated to it, then there's always going to be more. But it is definitely, I've seen people be able to triple the cost of what, a hat costs them in terms of profit. Now, if it is going more on a retail perspective, so it's going business to business, and then that business is taking it and going business to consumer, there's obviously going to be a little bit less of a profit on that, but there's still so much money to be made in headwear when it's this size, it takes up no space whatsoever. And I think that's the other thing to consider is the time involved in actually decorating the cap is so minimal. So your profit and dollars per hour is just much, much higher. You can see how to load it. You can see where the center is. I think even the potential for error is even reduced just because it's a smaller item to work with.
Yeah.
That's my personal opinion, but just from experience and seeing what it's like to load the 360, that's what I notice.
Yeah. And you can just have it set up next to your existing press. I think that's the great thing is it's not like you buy another heat press and you've got to employ another person to run it.
Right.
You can just have that sitting next to it and be like, as I'm waiting for that 10 seconds for ultra color to go up, I can just load a hat at the same time.
And the other way around as well.
Yeah.
What you were saying at the event was that because some of our thicker badges and patches take longer to apply than your traditional transfer. So ultra color and screen print are around say 10 to 12 seconds, whereas hats are more 40 to 50, depending on which one you're using. So it's more of a time filler. So while that hat's fusing, you can load a t-shirt, pre-press it, place a transfer, fuse it and peel it before the hat press even pops open. So you can do literally both alongside each other.
Yeah, that's such a great tip too, because I think some people might look at adding equipment as a not a nuisance, but just another thing to do, right?
Added time,
another time consumption. But at the same time, it's actually allowing you to maximize the time that you're waiting for one transfer, and you're just utilizing that time properly versus just standing there. I did a funny reel for the 4th of July, and I was just waiting 30 seconds with my 360, and it was like, what do I do? Because I didn't have another 360. My other press wasn't going, and it just felt like I was losing time. And it's 30 seconds. It's not that long, but it's just the idea of what could you do to fill in that space and continue to make more money. Plus, I'm a huge advocate for add-on sales and really growing the amount of pieces per order.
Yeah.
It's one person, and if you can capitalize on adding more items, then excellent. Everything at the end of the day is going to kind of go down in terms of cost, and you're just going to make more. Now, since we talked just a little bit about headwears and kind of seeing the trends, where it's heavier in the States versus the UK, what other things are you noticing in terms of decoration methods becoming more and more popular, or really forecasting for 23-24?
Do you want to go? There you go. We're both meant to speak at the same time. Something I noticed, I have a few to cover, as I'm sure Andy does as well, but something I noticed at the Headwear event, which really, it took me by surprise in a way, because even though garments have been heading this way, to see the headwear and accessories market doing the same was really eye-opening for me. They're producing such more like retail ready options. So like, for example, some of their caps were like the washed faded effect. Some of the colors that they had introduced were really just cool and trendy, as opposed to your typical black, gray, red, standard that we're used to.
Yeah.
Some of the beanies were really cool as well. And I think the fact that that's coming into the heat printing, like the blanks industry, as opposed to just your standard stuff that we've had for so long, was really, really good to see. And I think that's the same across a lot of the blank companies that we work with as well. And the distributors, we've seen a lot of newer, trendier styles. And from talking to obviously our partners and connections over here, they're putting almost a fashion forward approach to what they're producing, rather than just being like, this is a t-shirt and it feels soft because it's made of this. They're going, right, well, what are we seeing in stores? What are we seeing online? What do people want to wear? And we'll create that for printers to print on, rather than just focusing on the print and having a bog standard t-shirt, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's a great point to hit on, because if you're going into a big box store, I'll just use big box because that's easy, right? And you're grabbing a graphic tee, and you as a decorator are looking at this shirt going, I know I could make this, or I know I could provide this type of garment or decoration. etc. But the biggest, kind of hold on that is finding the garment that is going to match that retail inspiration. And I'm really glad to see that apparel manufacturers are taking that kind of retail and fashion forward approach, because you can go and purchase wholesale from, other places out there that are in boutiques, but you can't purchase it in terms of open packages. So, choosing the quantity, choosing the sizes, and styles turn. So when something's out of stock or discontinued, it's harder to kind of replenish that order to begin with.
Yeah.
Are you guys seeing larger screen print because of that retail? Are you seeing a transformation with direct to film really coming in?
I would say definitely full color transfers, either any kind of ultra color is massive at the moment. So I'd say a lot less screen printing these days. I think
Okay.
a lot of our customers that are screen printers are basically ordering transfers at volume and just be like, I'm just going to do it as a transfer because it's just easier for them that way. And especially now where the detail with direct to film is so fine, that it's just really nice and easy. And the turn time is much like the US, we do it next working day, so you can get hold of it so quickly now that it doesn't make sense to screen print or go direct to garment with the printing either. That we're definitely seeing like full color work is easily the most popular thing that we do at the moment. I think it's not just the transfer, but it's the garment it's going on to is they're really bright and colorful at the moment as well. And there's so many new colors that are coming out every single year that people are really gravitating towards big, full color, bold print still to this at the moment.
Do you notice when the Pantone colors are released, the seasonal Pantone colors, do you notice that kind of adds to the trends, not just in garment, but in print methods as well?
100%. Yeah, we saw, funnily enough, we were talking about our annual trade show back in February. And one of our hoodie suppliers released their new color at that trade show, or they were voting for it or something. And funnily enough, a few months later, they released the Pantone color of the year, and it was the exact same color as the hoodie. So they then released it across, obviously, a lot of their other product ranges, and it's still one of the most popular products, I think, that they're selling more colors. And I've definitely seen, a lot more sort of that kind of thing going through our production house. Yeah.
Do you see that even within, say, like corporate or the promo world, where they kind of embody the color trends, not just say brand standards for for their colors?
I think it's very slowly turning in that direction. I would say there's still a lot of like standard stuff, but some companies are doing a really good job of it when they're like embracing full color options, or for either the transfer or the garment, being a bit more interested in it, because where people are still working at home a lot more now, and they're like, if you're going to give them something to wear, they want it to be something that's a bit more within their style. They don't just want the standard colors anymore. So I think some of them are embracing it and they're doing really well. Some of them are still a bit boring, if I'm being honest.
I think there's always going to be a certain percentage that just stick to what they know.
But I think that comes down to sort of, I guess, everyone that's listening educating their customers. So one of the things we put a big emphasis on in the UK is educating our customers to educate their customers. So for instance, like one of the big things that's just finishing up this week is Leavers hoodies. So every year, like it's normally like a 23 with all the names inside of it for each leaving class. It's a big thing, but it's always like white, red, or black. And I'm like, well, it's boring. It's not what the kids want. They want it to be multicolor. They maybe want like a gradient through the color. You could do the school colors.
More fashionable.
I mean, Molly had one done where it's like Harry Potter colors into the design.
It's my favorite one. It was so good.
And that's what the end user wants to wear. And I think sometimes the more traditional fulfillment companies are a little bit tentative towards that. But if you just ask your customer, what do you think of this? A lot of the time they're like, actually, that's really cool. I'm really interested in that. Let's take a chance on it.
And I think as well with what you were saying about they're tentative about whether or not they'll sell them, but with all of the digital mock-ups you can create nowadays with obviously the DTF transfers. You can order a minimum of one, so you can order one and make one, show your customer in person, or create digital mock-ups, get them to touch, feel it, see it without placing that bulk order. And I think that's the biggest thing that DTF has enabled our customers to do, create one-off limited products and all of that, but just to produce those samples and have that conversation with the customer in person, rather than having to show them like a digital mock-up on the screen and then the order coming and it not being how they expected. Or I think it just takes that concern away from the customer, so that they can branch out. It almost like puts them a bit more in their comfort zone before they have to, take the plunge and go full color. But yeah, you're right, it's definitely shifting.
I would say to a lot of our customers is that even if your customer never orders it, or it takes a few years for them to order it, is you put it in front of them, your competitor probably won't do that, and you'll look more credible for doing so, even if it's just a case of like, oh, that's amazing, but I'm still going to order white transfers anyway. But at least you've shown them you're willing to kind of understand them, give them something a bit different, and differentiate yourself as a business that way.
Do you think that there is something to also be said about how many times somebody sees something before they order? I think in terms of social media, that if you are doing an advertisement, or you're talking about a product or solution, or, you're educating without selling, and it takes 7 times for a customer to see that before they will actually turn around and become the consumer, the buyer of that product. Do you think that there is also something to be said about creating the sample where they may not be buying right now, but they're going to go and look at it over and over? It may take them a year, but eventually there will be something that will shift.
100%. Yeah, I absolutely think that. And I think we're seeing that for us for like year 2 of being able to provide, because we never could provide full color lever prints for anyone before. Now Ultra Color exists and we can do it, and everyone's like, okay, first you're like, okay, that's not bad. Second, you're like, I'll try it and see if anyone's interested. And then next year we're seeing that, okay, actually I've got the school to bite on that one and try it and see how it goes. But I think that's true of all full color stuff now. It's only been 2.5 years since Stahls brought Ultra Color of any kind out. It's not really that long at all, is it? You think about how much of a seismic shift it was for full color printing, where versus say like some printable vinyl, which is still a great product, but it has some compromise to it. But now it's like, oh, there's no limits. I think people are still kind of getting head around the fact that you don't have to compromise. You don't have to do a design and be like, well, I guess I've got this is great, but I've got to change this if I'm going to make it. Like, well, actually, no, just the design is the design at this point.
If anything, they're making them more complicated because they can, and they look just as good. So they're like, oh, I'll add the extra color in that gradient, that little bit of text, and it still looks just as good.
It's like, how much can you make a faux metallic? How many gradients can you add in there to really just make it look like it's popping off that shirt? Are you guys seeing a trend with sets? Top, bottom, fleece, or really just kind of anything that's matching?
Got them right behind us.
I was going to say, which one would you like me to demo first? We funnily you should say that we literally filmed a video on this morning. So something that I'm currently working on for our YouTube channel is a series on how to print on athleisure or athleisure wear, however you say it. And one of the things we covered today was how to increase your average order value with matching sets. And, it's not even just the joggers and the sweatshirt, it's the leggings, the shorts, the long sleeve tops, the t-shirts, everything else that goes with that. So it's something I think we've similar to what Andy said before, you have to sort of encourage the customer to do it. And then they're like, oh, I can do this. I think we're sort of leading them in that direction. So yeah, I'm hoping that it's something we can encourage people to do. We don't talk about it as much as, well, we will do after this video.
But if you just walked into local city or local town in the UK tomorrow, you'd see lots of people in matching sets. It's been big for about sort of 12 months, and it doesn't look like it's going to change anytime soon. And a lot of the blanks companies in the UK and Europe are providing it in lots of colors now as well.
Yeah, it's very trendy.
So it's not just your tan, heather gray, black, white. It's really bringing in those colors like you were talking about.
Yeah, we had earlier. One of the companies was in on Wednesday, and I think they've got like almost 80 colors of and a lot of them can be applied across sets now.
Wow. 80 colors.
It's the bold ones that I love as well. I've
Yeah.
seen so much, especially on Instagram. I don't know whether it's just the way that the market is going at the moment, but there's so many like bold, like Kelly green and sapphire blue. And even if the garments are grey or black and white, the print on them is that bold colouring. And I think it matches so well because you can have the big print on the hoodie, you can have the little print on sort of the top of the leg, and they just tie up and they look really expensive in a way.
So have you noticed more contrast in colors on decoration versus garment, or are you still seeing a lot of tonal prints?
I'd say there's a lot of everything going through at the moment, to be perfectly honest with you. But yeah, there's definitely like some big contrasting colors going on. We had some, some of the people that were wearing their own stuff that came in on last week for the Headwear event. There's some very bold choices going on, and I think every customer and every wearer of garments has a much better understanding of garments these days.
Sure.
I think they're much more educated, not just in terms of what is good quality, but what their own tastes are, and the fact that if you look around, you can find a very specific style and design that matches what you want.
I love self-expression through clothing. I love it. It's just a way to be outspoken and bold without actually vocalizing it. And it is really cool to see that you guys have a bunch of trends that are a variety, that it's not just, one direction in terms of being bold or tonals taken over, that it's just everything. I think that really opens the market to have a variety of decorators, printers, who their clientele is, or demographics. Really, it kind of gives a lot of playing room around. Really fast, I wanted to quickly let everyone know that Carly on the other side, she has posted the links to their YouTube channel about watching the Headwear live event. So I know there was a question by Carrie Mitchell earlier that had asked about the website to watch the Headwear live event. So those are posted for everyone. And then, of course, you can check out the Target Transfers podcast. Those links have also been posted by Carly as well, to just make sure you get in touch with them as well. Now, you guys, what other tips, tricks do you have, for people that are listening that are looking to kind of get trendier when it comes to decoration?
I think you've got a good one for this.
I was going to say, so I was going to do a bit of show and tell for you, but I was really pleased with myself when I decorated this the other day. So you probably can't see it on the camera, but this is matte PU, like a wash bag.
Very nice.
And I put it under the 360 and put some high build vinyl onto it. And I was like, okay, this is, that's taking it from sort of like I think this is a little bit more expensive, maybe like $8 for the bag. But I've seen these being sold for like 50, 60. And it's just like an initial or things like that on it. So I think there's a lot of like luxury stuff that you can easily decorate now. And it's all about perceived value and how you pitch your brand. And so this is just, there's 10p's worth of high build vinyl on that. You could use some soft foam or something dimensional, even probably try some of the patches that you guys have, like some flex style or something on there. And it was just really, really easy. Just hooked it onto the 360 to protect it, because it's obviously a bit more plastic. And it was nice and easy first time we tried it.
Nothing.
And it was great. So I think that's something that I was like, okay, that's something we can talk about more. And again, it's another thing to show people how easy it is to decorate with. So that was something that we were really pleased with. And we've got loads of bag options from Beachfield and Bag Base to try and play around with. But again, it's another additional thing you can add to the set. Like sell the set and then put it all in a bag. It's another increase the average order value that way.
It just keeps growing.
And they're recycled as well, aren't they?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
And who's the brand on that?
So this is Bag Base. I'm not sure if you can get them in the US or not, but yeah, it's 100% recycled polyester. So which is something that's a lot of blank brands in the UK are talking a lot about. So the eco-friendliness of garments that, a lot of them are already eco-friendly, but they just don't talk about it very much. But we're seeing a lot more of a push because end users are asking for it. The stories behind the eco-friendly products are becoming much more popular, and the customers, our customers that learn to tell those stories are going to be very successful over the next 12 to 18 months if they embrace that fact and retell that story as their own.
It really ties hand in hand with perceived value because, you're talking about sustainability, you're talking about eco-friendly, protection of the environment. But then when you're also able to create a very luxe look like you just showed, that's something we would easily see at Lululemon or Athleta, here for traveling. And I know there's a ton of other brands that would represent that, but immediately when I saw that, I went, okay, that would probably be a $60, $70 bag at Lululemon. So, why not take that and make it your own? And then you've got different messages that you can really kind of put out to people.
Yeah.
The other thing as well, just quickly on the organic front, when we were talking about sort of fashion forward trends and things like that, something we were talking about with the suppliers that were here on Wednesday was that some of the organic recycled t-shirts now have that sort of, grainy isn't the right word, like the pieces of recycled in them, so that they
imperfections
have
in there,
the imperfections in the t-shirt, which especially in things like white, when you've got that slight beigey mottled effect, it just adds something else to the garment. And I think that's something that's definitely going to be sort of trendy moving forwards.
That's a great tip to kind of keep on the lookout for, because I know I've seen some of it, but I haven't really noticed it yet. So I'll definitely watch and see what we find, from S&S or Sanmar, Alpha Broder, all the brands that we partnered with, because I actually enjoy little things like that because it makes kind of each garment unique. You can have the same print, but each garment kind of takes on its own little look. So, well, Andy and, I want to thank you guys so much for taking the time today. Molly, as always, it's so fun chatting with you as well. Is there anything else left? Why don't you guys quickly tell everyone where they can find Target Transfers, how they can follow you, or even get in touch?
You do that?
Okay. So we're on all of the major social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. Our handle is at Target Transfers UK. I think that's it. Our podcast, which you can also find via YouTube, Spotify, Apple, all of the normal ones. Pretty basic, really, at Target Transfers UK. We try and make it simple for people.
Yeah.
Love it. Okay, well, you guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you head to Facebook and join the Heat Press for Profit community. You can find like-minded people, decorators, experienced, brand new people that are learning how to decorate and really kind of branch out. It's a great community for people to ask questions. And always happy decorating and have a wonderful weekend.